And I will start this session by sharing some information about this group. And this. Okay. Okay, here we
Will
go.
you be sharing the recording afterwards?
Yes, I certainly will. Um, Welcome, folks. This is Agile Practitioner online special interest group. My name is Alexander Frumkin. People know me by my nickname, Sasha. I am an Agile coach and trainer from San Francisco Bay Area. This group was started in 2017. We were one of the first virtual user groups when everybody was still in person, and we were a spin-off from Bay Area Agile Leadership Network. And at this point, we already have not 1,300, but already over 1,400 participants. Our group is affiliated with the Scrum Alliance, so you could claim your one educational unit for attending this event. We started this group with the idea that people could meet at the comfort of their home or office, because everybody who came to face-to-face BLN sessions had to deal with traffic, had to deal with expensive parking. So we were looking for the alternative. So now it's kind of became a commodity. It's probably more virtual groups than face-to-face group, but we are still here. We are still kicking and screaming, and we already have our guest for the next session. That will be Sherman Gomberg, a certified Scrum trainer and a good friend of mine. We just had some incredible time at the uh, Agile coaching retreat. Uh, Sherman is always full of great ideas. I'm not sure what is the topic he is going to bring in. But today I am so happy to announce our guest. It's another good friend and mentor. That's Chris Sims, certified Scrum trainer, who will be presenting his vision of the Agile portfolio game. With this said, let me stop sharing, and I would like us to uh, extend our warm welcome to Chris. Chris,
Hey.
it's so nice to have you. You have the flight controls.
Well, welcome everyone. It's good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. Greetings from Newark, Delaware. So lots of you are familiar faces and know me as, kind of San Francisco Bay Area person. But I now live almost completely full time in Newark, Delaware, kind of helping to take care of my dad out here. So it's nice to see all my Bay Area peeps, and do look forward to a day when I'm maybe living back there in the Bay Area. So tonight we're playing the Agile Portfolio game, and this one is very much related to an issue that I've seen a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. In fact, I've written a couple of articles about it. The phenomena, I call it, everyone is busy, but delivery is slow. And it's really pervasive, right, in organizations. And so this game is kind of a sandbox where we get to kind of explore a little bit, like, what can we maybe do about that? So I think I'm just going to tell the backstory here and then dive in and kind of demonstrate the game a little bit, and then get you sent off to play it. It's kind of essentially a board game, I suppose you could think of it as. And so here's the backstory. Our simulated organization has come upon some hard times in the last few years, quite frankly. And people were really frustrated. It was taking a long time to get products out the door. When we did release stuff, it kind of missed the mark in terms of being what our customers wanted. We've had quality issues. We've had morale issues. So it's been a little bit hard to retain really good talent. And so our CEO, right, went searching for solutions. And they came back from a conference and had stumbled upon the silver bullet. And silver bullet, of course, was we're going to organize into scrum teams and have an agile transformation. Right? This is gonna fix everything. And so we did that. And kind of down at the team level, things did get a lot better, right? The people who are actually building the product, they're a lot happier, and things seem to be starting to flow a little bit better there. And so, that was looking kind of rosy. But the people who do our like portfolio and program management stuff were really upset, right? They said all of this agile stuff really disrupted all of their very careful plans, right? They had a roadmap for the next couple of years and everything was planned out to the week and exactly what was going to happen. And all of a sudden, these scrum teams have backlogs and they're changing priorities, and it was wreaking havoc with their carefully laid plans. And so they all up and quit. And so now you are going to have to step in and do kind of the portfolio management for this company. So maybe you can salvage things a little bit at the portfolio level. So I'm going to share what the game board looks like and kind of, tell you a little bit more about this. So this is what the game board looks like. And in a little bit, I'll be sending you off to a breakout room and your team will have your own copy of this game board. 3 tabs or 3 sheets on this game board. So the first is the game board. This is where you'll play the game. And it's pretty much just about all you need, but there is some additional information. The second tab is instructions. So if you want, if anyone wants to like reread the instructions in detail, here they are. And then, for those who are interested, here's the backstory about our little company. So you can click in there and read a little bit of backstory. So our company has 3 divisions. So we have the cars division, and the cars division, boy, that's where we started, was building these cars products. And, it's kind of like old school enterprise software. I mean, the cars market, the cities market, things move slow, right? The pace of progress is very slow, but the price tags are very high. And, once we acquire a customer, a lot of lock-in, very hard for them to leave us, and very hard for competitors to like break into this market. So, this is kind of our cash cow. We've been in this market for a long time. And we have a cars division, and the cars division is a little bit younger. It's a market that's a little bit more dynamic, right? There's definitely more competition here in this space. But the good news is people tend to be kind of loyal, right? So once they become our customer, they tend to have some sense of loyalty and they tend to continue to be our customer. So, it's not as much of a cash cow as the cities work, but it's turned out to be a pretty good business for us. And then, the really cutting edge stuff here is the fruit and nuts division. This is kind of like the I don't know, AI blockchain in the cloud as a service kind of space, right? It's like really bleeding edge and things are changing all the time. And, about a year or so ago, we acquired a fruit and nut company. And that is how we came to have this division. They were actually an acquisition. They were a startup we acquired. So there's just a little bit of background. So what you're going to be doing as kind of our portfolio planners is identifying initiatives that you want worked on in the various divisions. Each division has 2 development teams. So over here on this part of the game board, we have a little area where we indicate, well, what are the various teams working on? So, there's City 1 team, City 2 team, Cars 1, Cars 2, very cleverly named teams, and Fruit and Nuts 1 and Fruit and Nuts 2. So those are our teams, right? These are the teams that we can have work on initiatives. And then each team has capacity to do a certain kind of work. And right now, cities teams can do city work, and cars teams can do cars work, and fruit and nuts teams can do, guess what? That's right, fruit and nut work. Now, in the game, in addition to having teams work on producing products in their area of capability, you will have an option to invest in cross-training. So you could have a team spend some time learning how to work in a different area. Maybe you would, have the fruit and nuts team learn how to do cities work, for example. And then you could add that in here, right? You just come right in this cell and just add, oh, by the way, they can do cities work now, if you happen to have made that investment. So when we start out, each division has some teams. Those teams only know how to work on the products in that division. And then we have an area over here where you get to indicate, well, what are they currently working on? So the things that can be worked on, all over here, these are all the initiatives, right, that we would like to deliver. These are all, product initiatives up here, all different kinds of products that we want them to deliver. And so you can slot product initiatives into teams. We also have some special initiatives down here, farther down on the game board. This set of initiatives are flexibility initiatives. This is where you have the opportunity, for example, to cross-train the cities team to work on cars, right? So you could cross-train one of the cities teams to work on cars, or you could cross-train a cities team to work on fruits and nuts. Now, if you invest in one of these cross-training initiatives, somehow, by some miracle, having one team work on it, like one of the city's teams, will magically allow both of the city's teams to gain that capability. It's some sort of weird osmosis, AI, something. I don't know how that happens, but apparently it does. Now, besides the flexibility initiatives, there are market research initiatives. And with these, the team won't produce any product that we can initially sell, but you will gain additional knowledge about a market, which ideally would enable you to make better choices going forward about what initiatives you want to invest in working in. So let's see how this works. I think the best way to learn is to, first see somebody play it and then jump in and play it yourself. So I will also call out that besides instructions, detailed instructions being here, pretty much all the instructions you need to play the game are right here in this part of the game board. There's really 4 steps to playing the game. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So I'm going to walk you through, and we'll see how it goes. So step 1, increment the quarter counter. So we're going to do 2 years in the simulation by quarter. So a total of 8 quarters in the simulation. So step 1 is increment the quarter counter. So right now it's 0. I'm going to increment it to be 1. Okay, I've done that. Step 2, apply teams to initiatives. So my job here is to pick what initiatives I want the teams to work on. So let's see here. Cities 1, I think I'm going to have them work on Shanghai. So let's see. I'm going to click here. I'm going to copy, and I found using the keyboard shortcuts tends to work a little better for some reason. So I'm copying Shanghai, and I'm going to paste here. Okay, So this team is working in Shanghai. I think I'm going to have the next team, I guess, work on the next thing, which is Boston. So there we go. Let's see, the first cars team, I guess I'll have them work on the Corvette initiative. I'm very excited about the Corvette initiative. There we go. And then the second cars team will work on the LTD initiative. Many of you are too young to remember LTDs, but that's okay. Let's see. And then with the fruit and nuts team, so here's the thing. I mentioned that we acquired this company, and they've got some weird practices, right? Like they like to swarm on just one thing, which I don't know. I'm worried that that'll be bad for utilization, but so they want to just have everybody working on the cherry plum. So that's okay. We can do that. We can have multiple teams working on a single initiative. So I have done step 2. I have applied teams to initiatives, right? Each team now has an initiative that they're working on this quarter. Step 3, make progress on initiatives. So if you look at each initiative, it has this work remaining field. And that's how many quarters worth of work are remaining until the initiative is completed. So for each initiative that has a team working on it, I get to decrement that, right? So Shanghai goes from 5 to 4. Boston similarly goes from 5 to 4. The Corvette goes from 3 quarters remaining to 2. The LTD goes from 2 to 1. And then the cherry plum, right, has 2 teams working on it. And so it goes from 2 to 0. Oh, and did you see that little magic? Hold on, let me go back. Undo. So each initiative has a projected ROI. And the projected ROI is simply the value of the initiative, the projected revenue, divided by how much work it's going to take. But it's a projected ROI because that revenue is projected revenue, right? Once it gets to 0, magically this gets marked as done. And at this point, we get to find out, well, what's the actual revenue, right? Because I don't know about you all, but like, in my experience, when our product people are like, oh yeah, this product's going to generate $100 million every year. Well, when we release it, very often it doesn't generate $100 million every year, right? It's different than what we expected. So the way we reveal the actual revenue is we click into the actual revenue cell. We go up to the fill color tool, which is this one, looks like a paint bucket being dumped out. We choose reset. And we see the actual revenue is only $8,000. Now the revenue number is a quarterly revenue number. So we'll see how that works in just a moment. So we've made progress on initiatives. Next up, score completed initiatives. And so what we do is we say, okay, well, what initiatives were done this quarter? Oh, it looks like cherry plum. So I'm going to copy cherry plum, put down here, cherry plum was completed. I'm going to record that it was done in quarter 1. The actual revenue is 8,000. So I'll paste that in. And notice that magically calculated for me is the realized revenue. Because the way these products work is once we complete one, it starts generating revenue every quarter. And since we're doing a 2-year timeline here, the spreadsheet will do the math to kind of calculate, over the course of those 2 years, how much total revenue is that initiative going to create? So I already know, look at that. It's going to generate $64,000 in revenue. That's kind of nice. Up here at the top, we get a total revenue score, right? So, for my team, how much revenue has our portfolio management tactics netted? And, what is it per quarter so far? So that's it. That's how you play the game. And then each quarter you rinse and repeat. All the magic comes in, making decisions. What initiatives are you going to choose to have your teams work on? Are you going to just, go through these in the order? Because this is the order that our outgoing portfolio management group had queued things up, right, for our teams. So if you want, you could just start at the top, work your way down. You could do that, just kind of following the original plan as it was intended. Or you might make some different decisions. And remember that you can choose to invest in flexibility initiatives, right? And again, if you cross-train the cities teams on cars, you have to have one cities team do this. But once it's done, both cities teams can now work on cars, for example. So this is a way to, kind of increase the flexibility of your organization if you choose to. Also, another thing that happens, whenever we release a product, we gain market intelligence, right? We see, what do our customers, how do they actually behave? We had some beliefs about what they wanted and what they would do. But once you release something into the market, you get really important data about what they actually do. So not only does each completed initiative generate revenue, but it allows you to find out the real revenue for one other initiative. So this one that's done reveals Chilean guava. So I can come down here to Chilean guava and I can reveal it. Oh, it's only going to be 2,000. Now, if you want, in order to get this projected ROI number to be more accurate, once you've revealed an actual revenue, you can paste that into the projected revenue. And that will, have your ROI be based on the actual revenue, not the original projection. And, those ROI scores can kind of help you make decisions. Let's see what else. Oh, a couple of things that I would strongly encourage you to do. I encourage you to turn off the formula bar, because otherwise you can see some of the hidden stuff that makes the game less fun. So the way you do that is you go up to View, Show, and Uncheck Formula Bar. So, in the spirit of like making the game more interesting and fun, I recommend turning off the formula bar once you get into your sheet. Let's see what else is important. Walked you through a quarter. We talked about the special initiatives. Questions before I break you into teams and turn you loose. Oh, I see there's something in the chat. Does the sort order of the initiatives represent anything significant? That was the plan from the outgoing portfolio management team. So the order here is what they were originally planning to do. Other questions? What do you want to know before I send you off? How do we get the sheet? I'm going to drop links in the chat in just a moment. Looks like we are going to have 4 teams today.
There is a question in the chat about the goal of this system.
So the goal of the simulation is to generate as much revenue as you can. So this total revenue score, you want to make that as high as possible, right? All the money. We want all the money.
I would probably add a question from myself.
Excellent.
Since we have only one field for the quarter, how can you, in this template, capture the history, all the intermediate steps?
Well, so the history will play out here. So every time you complete an initiative, you'll enter a new row here. So as the game plays, you'll see initiatives that were completed. You'll see the history of when they were completed. So yeah, this is going to become a running list down here.
Yeah, but it's only completed, but it's not. There is no field for the items in the progress, so that we could compare the different approaches.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, what's currently being worked on is up here, right? This is the whip area. Here's the history area, but yeah, it is true. Can we change the, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Tom, I think that is going to be the key to doing well in this, is to come up with a better approach than what the former regime was doing. So it's my fondest hope that you will do something different than the outgoing regime.
I have a question about how the formula of the revenue is created. Do you have, so like for this cherry plum, the realized revenue, is that just for the 7 remaining quarters during which it's gone live, or
So
do
there,
you gain that first $8,000 upon release of the product?
yeah, we're giving you the quarter in which it was under development.
Got
So
it.
you actually get it like an extra bonus quarter. Good catch. So Jose, they're listed in the existing priority order, but you as the incoming portfolio management team, you get to address them in any order you want. So when you're doing step 2, where you're applying teams to initiatives, you get to scroll through here, pick any initiative you want, and copy it in. So for example, maybe I decide I'm going to have the fruit and nuts team cross-train. And so I'm going to, choose this initiative and put it in here, right? So every quarter you get to choose what each team works on. And you do that by copying the name of the initiative and then bringing it over and assigning it to a team by pasting it in up here. So that's how you assign a team or an initiative to a team. Lucy.
Yeah, and just, is it always the rule that fruit and nuts both swarm?
Nope, it's up to you.
Oh, they just
can
like
have-
to, but we don't have to do it.
Yep, yep.
Thank you.
You have all the degrees of freedom. And the things you have to hold constant is each quarter, each team works on one thing. Now, multiple teams could work on that one thing, but one team cannot work on multiple things. So. All right, so here come links. And the way this is going to work is, in a moment, going to send you off to breakout rooms. And when you get in your breakout room, look up at the top and see what room number you're in. If you're in room number 1, click on the team 1 link. If you're in room number 2, guess what? The team 2 link, so on and so forth. And there's a few enough of us I can just call out. Team 1 is going to be Karsten, Lucy, Margot, and Oliver. Team 2, Grant V1, Larry, Simon, and Tom. Team 3, Jennifer, Joe, Maru, help me with pronunciation there, and Tori. And team 4, Jose, Karen, Monique, and Ryan. So those are the teams. And I'll send you off to breakout rooms. I'm going to queue up 40 minutes on the timer. But I'm going to be paying attention to like the progress you're making. And if you get through all 8 quarters, before you run out of time, then by all means, you can leave your breakout room and come back. If you need help, there'll be an option down at the bottom of the Zoom window to request help from the host. Click on that, and I will appear in your breakout room and render assistance. And I will drop in on each breakout room in the first 5 minutes or so, just to make sure that you got into your worksheet okay, and hopefully get you off to a good start. As a reminder, the more in-depth instructions are on the instructions tab. Although once you've been through one cycle, probably all you'll need to look at is the step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It's just do that, rinse and repeat. All right, last call on questions before I send you off.
Chris, you didn't say, are people supposed to join the breakout room themselves?
I think it's set up, it'll automatically send them to the room. Let me see.
The names on the
yes.
breakout rooms are slightly different to what you give.
Oh, are they? Well, let's see what happens. The real rule is when you get in your breakout room, look at the top, see what the name of the room is, and that's the spreadsheet you want to be into. So cross your fingers. Here we go. All right, once everybody's off, I am gonna start dropping into room.
Now we are recording again.
All right.
Margot, Karsten, what am I doing?
Oh, welcome back, everybody. One more time, I'm going to drop the links in the chat. So, as we're talking, if you want to peruse and see what the other teams were doing, you are welcome to do that. So let's talk about
Oh my God.
like your approach and how it worked out. Let's maybe, I don't know, team 4. Tell us about like your approach to it, and what are your thoughts and reflections on that approach?
You're really putting us on the spot, huh? In my opinion, we spent too much time in the beginning. Like I wasted some time creating revenue projections that, were very rough guidelines that were not really, accounting for the multiple factors. And then, not creating a clear selection criteria for how we were going to move forward. So we spent a lot of time deliberating and saying what if and just kind of shooting from the hips. And
Interesting.
we ran out of time.
Interesting. Very cool.
We got
Team.
started with
Go ahead.
quarter 4. We went up to quarter 4, I think.
They got it. So they got up to quarter 4 and total revenue score of $120,000 through quarter 4.
Right. Although I can reveal the durian.
Nice. Team number 2. Tell us about your approach to the game. And what are your thoughts and reflections on that approach now?
Jenny, Simon, you want to?
We also spent a lot of time figuring out our plan and then really made a lot of money in the last 2 quarters. But we were just getting into that.
Jenny, do you think that our money spent or time spent on cross training was worth it, as well as revealing the actual revenues?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, it was surprising at how many of the actual revenues were lower. So in that way, I think it was valuable to do some reveals, because then we changed some thinking. However, and I think the cross training also is useful.
I
What do you think,
agree on the
Tom?
cross training. What do you think about when we abandoned some started work and moved some folks over? Do you think we came out ahead by doing that?
Well, in hindsight, I think we found out that the one that we stopped was actually had a higher projected revenue than it was forecast. So we probably chose the wrong one to shut down. So I don't know.
So maybe we should have done some analysis ahead of time, market
Yeah,
analysis.
right.
before we did
Market
that.
analysis fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but we already had some cities in there from the round 1, from the demo round. I wouldn't have split them across 2 cities. I would have started on one or started with the research. So we sort of had to figure out how to continue from the previously made choices, and that does actually sometimes happen.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other things that we discussed at the very beginning was our goal is to make as much money as possible in the first 8 quarters. But there are some things that once you start making money, you invest 8 quarters worth of stuff in, and then long term, make a ton of money. But that was not the goal of the game. The goal of the game is make the most amount of money in the 8 quarters. So that kind of changed my thinking on how to approach this.
Yeah.
And then Simon was awesome. If anybody needs a product owner, Simon,
And you listen to the instructions, Chris.
yes.
I love it. Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting, if folks are looking in the Team 2 sheet, and here I'm going to screen share for just a moment, is one of the fun things to do with this game at the end is you can look and see the history, like where did a team invest, right? So you can see like, oh, they were revealing and more reveal, and then cross training, right? So by the end, they had 4 teams working on one city. So interesting to see like the order of where did they decide to make those investments. So fascinating, nicely done. Team 3, tell us about your approach and what do you think your lessons learned are? What are your reflections on your approach?
Yeah, so for us, it was me and Chris. We try to have like quick wins. So we invested in small, so for example, the cars, small projects, 2 quarters, let's say 34,000. So that was one of the first things we did to try to get the most out of our time with money. And then we did some cross training between the fruits and the cities. I think that worked out for us. We also invested in sort of some long-term initiatives. I want to say maybe didn't work out as perfect. We went the Beijing way. We probably should have went the Delhi way, but I mean lessons learned, right? And what else? I think we didn't really figure this one out, but I think we saw some of the models. So was it the Camaros? There's like similarities in cars. So we try to stick with the same models. I'm like, so if we're making progress with the car with similar models, we're gonna invest in that. So yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Interesting. Yeah. And the market research stuff, there's a really important correlation to real life here, which is that almost universally, like product people and companies are way overconfident that we know what our customers and users want. And there have been a couple of really interesting studies over the years that show that we're not nearly as good at predicting what is going to be valuable as we think, right? And so investing time and energy in trying to validate our assumptions about our products can really be money well spent. So it's interesting to see some of the teams did that, and yeah, it can be really useful. The more recent study on this, and it's actually the better study, was by an outfit called Pendo. I think it was 2019. They did a thing called the Pendo Feature Adoption Report. And the number they came up, they studied a fairly large number of applications across a bunch of different domains. And the number they came up with was like 80% of features in the software products they looked at were rarely or never used. Right? So like investing in in validating our beliefs about what we should build can really reap huge rewards. All right, team 1. All right, so by the way, I forgot to call out team 2, $840,000, really quite good. Team 3, a little bit better, $890,000. Team 1.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. $1.6 million. So first off, let's just give it up for team 1.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness. All right, tell the truth. Did you have some AI analyze the whole game board, or what did you do?
Our AI was named Margot.
Why am I not surprised about this?
Margot was the AI.
We did a lot of coming back to the numbers at my insistence, and the numbers were kind of hard to wrap our head around. So what we ended up doing was kind of looking at each team and each division and seeing what is the maximum thing that we could do for that team individually. And then kind of looking at trade-off decisions, well, if we gave up a quarter and $5,000 of revenue for them on this quarter and here to cross-train them, would that pay off by throwing them into another initiative in another division? And we decided that yes, that it would. So we immediately cross-trained everybody to work on cities and went hard on Bengaluru with the idea that it would then reveal Delhi. We made a little bit of a gamble by throwing one extra team on one quarter against Delhi without knowing what its actual revenue was, but it turned out okay. And in fact, the discussions that we were having and the teams we had free We actually, I don't know what the actuals were, but we were on schedule to add another 123K onto our portfolio, depending on which ones we actually chose and what the actual revenue ended up being. I don't know what it would be.
Wow. Wow. Just wow. And looking at your board, right, it looks like you were really limiting work in progress pretty strictly. Tell us more about that.
I'm always telling my clients to do it, and I finally got the chance to do it. So we did it.
Because the most money took 13 work units, right? So we needed to swarm on that. So, and because we knew if we took our fruit and nut people and made them city people, we took our cars people and made them city people, we knew that we could get we could get our cities in just a smidge. To Margot's point, we put one team to just get a little bit of a head start to get one thing done, get it done. And we did decide like right away, cross train, like maximize the potential of everyone. Fruit and nut doesn't matter. You're all working on cities,
Yeah, I'm just
We had lots of
imagining.
discussions. It was great. I think that the human dynamic is funny because Margot was our AI, looking at numbers, one in the spreadsheet. And I was more of I could see myself like, let's just try, I'm just more of the wing. Let's go for it. And
Yeah,
I think maybe, yes, Karsten.
I was just going to say, once we started realizing, okay, if we get everybody cross-trained, we now have 6 teams. And so those big 13 numbers, that's 2 quarters we complete that if we can get the one of it knocked off before. And that's what we wound up doing. And that it proved beneficial.
And it was fun.
There's one.
And it was fun, Chris. It's fun.
Love hearing that.
Sorry, just one thought about that. It's great in this game that it works, but I have to say from experience, just putting more teams onto the same kind of work doesn't necessarily make it faster in real life because sometimes they get into each other's way.
100%.
Something to remember. Yeah. It was great in the
And not engineers, for instance, in the software field, engineers are not plug and play. Just because you're a good engineer in Perl doesn't make you a good engineer in C, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And I think one of the things that's useful about a simulation is, right, inherently it must simplify lots of the pesky details of real life so that we can kind of like explore some of the essential behaviors. But, when you zoom back out, it turns out, those details matter, right? Absolutely they do. I will say that every client I have ever worked with where we did the analysis, we always found out that at the kind of program portfolio initiative level, that they had too much work in progress. Always, 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 right? And part of it is there's lots of, things we have to do, right? This must be done. And so what do? We get someone to start on it. And so we end up with all these things in flight, but it takes forever to get anything done, right? And kind of calling back to the article I dropped in the chat. I actually wrote 2. So here comes the first one, right? This one, everyone is busy, but delivery is slow. Actually, at some point I'm going to change the names of these 2 articles because they're actually named backwards. That one actually explores like, why does that happen? And then the next one, which is called Why is Everybody Busy but Delivery is Slow, is actually a case study. And the funny thing about the case study is I had clients who were like, hey man, that's not cool that you wrote that about our company. And I was like, actually, this is a composite of many companies that I've worked with. It wasn't about your company specifically. But the anti-patterns are really consistent, right? For example, in the case study, right, this organization creates teams. They're great, but they're but wait, we have too many initiatives that need to be, worked on. And so they were like, we need more teams, but we can't hire anybody else. Each person will be on 2 teams. Then we'll have enough teams. And it's like, wait, you realize you didn't actually increase your capacity here, right? You doubled the work in progress, but you did not increase your capacity. This is not actually going to get you twice as many things done.
And you might have more context switching, which doesn't help any engineer.
Yeah. But this is really, really, really common, right? And so it makes such a big difference, but it's socially so hard, right? And psychologically so hard. Our brains are so interesting, right? That there are, so many, what's the word I'm looking for when we don't think in logical ways, cognitive bias, so many cognitive biases that lead us to do things that if we would slow down and really look at it, we'd be like, wait, that's not going to work, right? That doesn't make sense. But it really feels like it does in the moment, right? And I see it at all levels of an organization, right? We've been playing around at the theoretical, like initiative and program and portfolio level here, but I see it at the team level. I see it at the individual level, right? As a human being, as an individual, we often, and I often, optimize for things that feel productive as opposed to things that are actually productive, right? And so I feel productive when we're busy. Right? If I'm really busy, I'm like, look at me, I'm being really productive. But if things aren't getting done, if I'm just like doing a lot of work, but things aren't being completed, there's no actual productivity, right? I mean, I would define productivity as like how many things are getting done, right? And how long does it take to get those things done? And sometimes the stuff that's more productive has us less busy. It feels less productive, right? So it can be hard, right? It can be hard at any level in the organization, all the way down to the individual. Thoughts, comments, questions, abuse, what do you have?
I think you just gave us an idea for a good article. Are you busy or are you productive?
I used to have a really great like little visual whiteboard chat back in the days when I was in person with people and was able to draw on whiteboards about just kind of giving people like a conscious shock to their system about this issue of like, what are we here to do? And this whole mindset fallacy that people have about full utilization. And I hate that people measure full utilization. It's people think that they're there to like do work and produce work. And we're so distanced from the actual metric of value output that people start measuring things that are easy to measure. And if I can dig it up, maybe I'll come on a meetup and present it one time. I still have a few boxes from my move 4 years ago, so I still might find it again, but it is currently lost. But it was pretty fun.
I was working with a DevOps team a short while ago, and they were having the hardest time delivering on the things that they were promising. And basically, when we sat down, I looked at the fact that they were cramming their sprint to 100% capacity. And there was a picture that I showed them of a freeway at 50% capacity, a freeway at 100% capacity, and then a freeway at 150% capacity, because they were frequently at the end of the sprint at 150% capacity. And basically what we wound up doing is at the start of the sprint, we would only plan to 50% capacity to give them the space to work on things. They were a DevOps team, so there was always unplanned work. And suddenly they were delivering really, really well.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Oh my goodness. Yes. Ryan.
Yeah, I've got a question. This conversation made me think of a real world example, like something that I'm facing currently. I'm on the board of a nonprofit called Arts for Oakland Kids. We're a bridge fund. So we raise money so that we can write grants for people who want to create art programs in public schools in Oakland. And when we assigned our board committees, there was no rhyme or reason. It was just like, who wants to do what, sign up. So we have, these committees, and if you look at the real mission, what do we need to focus on? Fundraising, because if we don't have money, we can't do anything, which of course in a business, it's sales, presumably, or that's the parallel. But then there's other groups who help facilitate the fundraising or the sales, like events, like marketing. And I'm wondering if people have experience of, when people are talking about, when you were talking about like moving people to different teams and have people working on multiple teams and things like that, I was thinking, do people have experience of the results of having, like, let's say if I wanted to next year say, hey, let's say that this team's going to have 4 people, this committee's going to have 3 people, this committee's going to have 2 people. Do you devote more resources to, in this example, fundraising, which is the main outcome that you want to see? Or does that deplete the ability by under-resourcing the teams that help facilitate that outcome, like marketing and events? I'm wondering if anyone has examples of when they've been faced with a challenge similar to that.
Wow. So it sounds like the questions kind of is around, let me see if I'm following. So you've got some teams, some committees, a committee or some committees that are focused directly on the thing, directly on fundraising. And then you have these others that are focused on things that are more supportive and enabling. Right. So in an organization, right, it might be like, oh, we've got our product groups that build the products that we sell, right? But then we've got marketing, we've got sales, we've got support, we've got HR, right? We've got program management, right? All these things that aren't directly producing, our products, our revenue, but are enabling. And it sounds like the question's like, oh my goodness, how do we figure out like how to balance our focus? Am I on the right track?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was wondering if people have examples of, where they've allocated resources to success or less optimal success. Do you throw more people and resources at the thing, or do you put more resources to the support groups that help create the thing?
Ooh, smart people. What do you think?
I had a real world experience about something like this like 10 years ago. I was working with a company who will remain nameless on a product that will remain nameless. And the company basically dumped a ton of resources into making the product. Realizing the product. They wanted it, it's, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. It's ahead of its time. Let's dump the resources into it. And then it went to market and nobody knew about it. So then they tried to shift some resources to marketing and sales, and it was basically too little too late. And it's like, well, do we keep the resources going so they can get version 2 and version 3 and version 4? And the decision there was yes. So there was minimal resources towards sales and marketing. And technically it's still sold somewhere on that company's website, but nobody knows about it. And it was described to me at one point as a really awesome thing, but it's a solution looking for a problem. And so it was a flop, and it could have been a really cool thing. So there is an important balance in there. My background was originally as an engineer, so I'm always engineer biased. Um, but yeah, there has to be a balance.
I totally agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, a company's product is money. They want to produce money. And so all these other supporting things need to come into play and balance in order to produce the money.
Oh, you just went on mute.
I said, I guess the way I was thinking about it is just that maybe these things aren't as separated as you think they are in terms of like the producing the value outcome for your organization. And also, kudos to you for serving on the board of a nonprofit. That is a wonderful thing to do. I'm very excited to hear that people are doing that.
Thank you. Great resume builder after a layoff. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a great example. So thanks for sharing that, everyone.
I think what also would be very helpful is just sort of doing some roadmap planning. So I don't know if there's different departments, it sounds like maybe everyone just sort of comes up with what their goals are per department, or I don't know, per lead, because I'm assuming nonprofit's a bit smaller. And I think based upon that, you guys can determine how much the dollar amount you're trying to tackle and then divide and conquer, right? Like, I sort of, to Karsten's sort of point, like if you have a product that no one knows about, or you get all this money but that you don't have anything to like show or showcase, then yeah, you're not gonna get too far. But roadmap planning sounds like a thing.
Oh yeah, that would be great. It's total scrappy, like very small, 100% volunteer organization. So, and I've only been with them for like 6 months or less. So I'm the new guy, but I'm coming in and like, hey, let's do all these things and optimize and organize and build culture and teams.
It's a big role.
Couple of thoughts I'll lob on there. So one is there's a theory called theory of constraints, which my good friend who has sadly left us, Steve Bachman, taught me about years ago and just changed my whole approach to trying to optimize anything. And fundamentally, the theory of constraints says whatever your system is, something is the limiting factor, right? In Karsten's example, it may well have been like, sales and marketing was the limiting factor, right? They may have built an amazing piece of technology, an amazing product, but nobody knew about it, right? So the limiting factor was actually there. And so the whole idea of theory of constraints is find your bottleneck and then focus all your optimization there and then rinse and repeat, right? It's like, okay, now where's the bottleneck? And then a complementary thing is kind of going back to this whole idea of product companies often are way overconfident about what their product should be, what the features should be, what their customers want. I think this also, the same concept applies in a situation like yours, right? Where it's like, okay, we're trying to do fundraising and we have ideas. Oh, we should do I don't know, whatever, a bake sale. We should do a silent auction. We should do whatever we think we should do, right? We should write grants. We should, whatever it is. You could invest a lot of time and energy implementing one or more of these ideas, right? But maybe you might want to do the equivalent of product discovery, link in the chat, to say like, how could we do some small experiments that might validate our belief that whatever it is, the grant writing, the bake sale, the silent auction, the whatever, would really be as valuable as we think, right? And so that can often help gain early information to inform where to invest more. So a couple of thoughts. Hopefully other folks, thoughts, advice for Ryan. This is a cool situation.
It sounds like you're proposing doing like some A/B testing essentially.
It's one variation on it. Yeah, absolutely.
Folks, we still have time for maybe one more question to Chris.
One more link. So lots of articles here on this product discovery business. There you go.
And we had a conversation on the site while you were in breakout rooms. And I promised to share a link to the video that I really like about work in progress. So here it is, Henrik Niebuhr about WIP limit. I think it's absolutely brilliant video. If you didn't have a chance to watch it, please enjoy.
Yeah, actually, I'm familiar with that one. I've shared that with multiple teams just so that they understand what it means to do context switching when they're, jumping into multiple teams or having to jump into multiple teams. And very, very impressive in the way in which he actually showcases how to clearly understand the concept. Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay. If there is no more questions, let me thank Chris for coming and joining us tonight. Thank you for a really interesting experience. And I hope this is not the first, but not the last time you are a guest in this user group. So you are always welcome. You know how to find us. And I would like to thank all of you for taking your time at your evenings or mornings or whatever time of the day it is to join us tonight. Thank you, folks. I am stopping the recording.